Hello, my name is Gabriel González Alvarez. I'm from the group 622, and I'm going to talk about the Cold War. The Cold War was a period of geopolitical tension between the Soviet Union and the United States and their respective allies. Historians don't fully agree on the dates, but the period is generally considered to span the 1947 Truman Doctrine to the 1991 dissolution of the Soviet Union. The term "cold" is used because there was no large-scale fighting directly between the two superpowers, but they each supported major regional conflicts known as proxy wars. The capitalism was supported by USA, and its characteristics are that system of government is democratic, property is privately owned, driven by free enterprise, wealth distributed unevenly, education and healthcare provided by private entities, freedom of the press class distinctions, upper class, middle class, and working class. Focus is, focus is on the individual and her own progress in life. The ideology of capitalism is that people need freedom. When people compete against one another, they achieve greater things. Some people have more than others because they make better use of their abilities. Governments shouldn't interfere with the rights of individuals to make their own living. The government should interfere in the economy as little as possible. And the communism was supported by USSR, the Soviet Union, and its characteristics are that system of government is totalitarian, property is owned by the state, no free enterprise is allowed, wealth distributed equally, the education and health care provided by the state, press controlled and owned by the state, classless society, all members of society are considered to be equal, and its is focus focuses on the progress of the community as a whole. The ideology of communism is that people need one another. When people work together as equals, they achieve greater things. No one should have more than anyone else. Everybody's needs are equally important. Governments should make sure that everyone's needs are being met. There is central control of the economy. Then I couldn't interview anyone because none of my family members have lived something or know something about the Cold War. I have family members that are from that era, but they don't know anything about that. So I just researched a little about it, and I entered some forums to see what they think. So, what countries were the world leaders during this period? Well, it was United States and the Soviet Union. Where did the Cold War take place? The ideological warfare it involves the United States, Russia, Asia, Europe, and parts of Africa and Latin America, especially Cuba. The one place that the Cold War manifested physically was Korea during the Korean conflict from 1950 to 1953. What opinion did the general public have of the Cold War? American views of Russia have been less positive now than at any time since the Cold War. Yet few consider Russia's territorial ambitions were a critical threat to the United States. This helps to explain why only 30% of Americans support a U.S. military intervention in Ukraine if Russia invades the rest of the country. This is because from the Cold War, Russia was seeking to expand their territories and it was seeking power. So the United States take an answer to that, and I think that that's like the main causes of the Cold War. And this is an opinion from now of how the United States, the Americans don't support the Ukrainian intervention of the U.S. intervention in Ukraine. Uh, And what type of weapons did the world powers have at their disposal? The nuclear arms, because during this time it was the nuclear weapons range, um, and also there was a time where it was some laws to raise the arms and something like that. Why did countries who were allies during the wars become enemy afterwards? Well, even the Russia or USSR and United States were allies during the Second World War. There were many reasons as why they became enemies. Um, they they think that is like they didn't trust each other. It was the only reason they didn't trust each other. And here I have some points that of the views of the Soviet and the U.S. Soviet views and U.S. views. And finally, my conclusion is that the Cold War transformed political and economic environments such as the world powers relations nowadays, and also that the Cold War wasn't the as bloody as the Great Wars, but except for the event in Hiroshima, that some people consider it like the beginning of the Cold War. Uh, well, even though I find all war topics interesting, uh, like this Cold War is I found it interesting. I find it interesting. I also find it sad to see that the seek of powers for the nations is more important than anything, than even the people that live in the nations, and that and it's so important for them that they are even capable of manufacturing those wicked nuclear weapons that have frightful consequences, as we can see in Hiroshima, and leave such hellish scenarios. Thank you.